Welcome to the M&M show. George, we I don't know about you. I had a rough fantasy week last week. I went 1-2, not where I want to be. How'd your fantasy outcome go?
Oh, this week I went 5-2, so everything's coming together, man. First week was rough, but kind of just stay the course, and you'll get
Stay
there.
stay the course. Well, I'm going to need some better showing out of some guys I picked early for that to be true. So, week 3 is in the books. We're on to week 4. We're happy to have you all here with us. As you may have noticed, I went full White Sox, got their first playoff win in 12 years. Let's go Sox. We're here to week 4. M&M show. All right, welcome back. Appreciate everyone joining us today. We're going to get started we're changing the show up a little bit this week. We're going to go right into fantasy instead of doing a review. Oh, yeah. Everybody wants the fantasy. So we've got some great talking points for you. Out of the gate, we look at what just happened this last week. We saw the big quarterback matchup of the week, obviously, was Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. And Lamar got owned, right?
Yeah, I mean, I predicted it last week. I said the Chiefs are going to blow out the Ravens, and Ravens at home. If they didn't have that one return, kickoff return for a touchdown
Might have been that
by
blowout, yeah.
Duvernay, it would have been a complete blowout. But it just seems like I heard Lamar Jackson say today that effectively the Chiefs are his kryptonite.
It definitely appears that way. I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I was down 14 points going into Monday night. I had Mark Andrews going, and I had Hollywood Brown going, and I lost by still almost 10 points. And that drop touchdown from Mark Andrews really hurt me. Right here, right in the heart, was kind of a killer. So, but at any rate, we see it happening. I mean, this is the year of the QB. Outside of those two, who have been pretty stellar up until Stevens or Jackson, excuse me, took that stumble last night. Dak is having a monster year. You called that in their first show, Dak gonna have a monster year. They're not winning football games, but he's having a monster year. Josh Allen has magically learned how to throw a football. Who knew that could happen? So Josh Allen, not just doing it with his legs, but doing it through the air. He's starting to catch Russell Wilson with that MVP talk, who also, sorry about your boys, I think you saw it coming, also had a monster game. So if you've got, I mean, it's funny, I think we had Nate on last week, and he even said if you waited later to pick up a QB, you're not really hurting this year because, there's QBs everywhere, and they're all just having monster years.
Yeah, I mean the front runner for QB is not who you thought it was going to be, right? A lot of people went out and got Lamar Jackson. They got Patrick Mahomes, and they're doing decent damage out there. But the person I think that's really on fire is Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, you can't argue with Russ right now. He's got, I think, 15 tutters with one pick on the season.
The person that concerns me is Dak Prescott because he seems to be very inconsistent. He rises to the occasion a lot. He gets it going when he has to. So I don't see that happening all year.
Listen, here's what I'll say. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but here's what I'll say about that. That defense being as bad as they are, he is going to have it going and rise to that occasion for them to even be in games, let alone actually win. And the other bonus he has, and I know we're trying to focus on fantasy here, is that the NFC East stinks. It is bad. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. We also saw some big games from guys who are available. Rex Burkhead, available just about all formats. Monster game, 3 tutters. You're probably not going to see it again. Is that a guy you're still avoiding, or is he somebody you're looking to maybe pick up especially if James White's not really playing.
I'm a believer that James White's going to be coming back sooner than later. I think Rex Burkhead is a Jag, so just a guy. I don't feel like there's anything really special about what he does or what he brings to the table. I think he's probably 4th or 5th best in strength. It's just a matter of that Sony Michel hasn't really shown us much. I think the sneaky pickup is Damien Harris.
Oh,
for
yeah,
when
yeah.
he comes back off of the IR in the near future. I think either this week or next. Pick him up. He's the one that there's a reason why they drafted him so high. 2 years ago?
Sure.
And it almost always comes out if you take a look at your fantasy years previous. Somebody in New England is going to be that league winner, or at least be a really strong person on your team year in, year out from the running back position. 2 years ago, it was James White. Couple years ago, it was I can't think of his name right now.
Lewis.
Yeah,
Lewis.
Dion Lewis.
Yeah.
And then right down to who's the guy that had like 20 or 30 touchdowns in one season a couple of years ago for them?
Randy Moss back in like 08.
I'll probably think of it, but in any case, I would pick up Damien Harris because I think that would be a really great sneaky pick.
That's interesting. I would say so. I agree with you as far as Rex Burkhead goes, and I'll even take it one step further in a general just sense. I'm to the point where I'm avoiding all Patriots in all formats and all leagues. They find a way to win games, but fantasy they just kill you, right? Because maybe Cam is a guy you can go get because they've got to do things with Cam. He has to be involved in that offense, but nobody else has to be involved in that offense. We saw Bird have a big week last week to just get nothing this week. N'Keal Harry is super inconsistent. And I don't think it's because these aren't good players. I think this is just the way Coach Hoodie runs his offense, right? He's trying to always make the other team guess. Great for a football coach, horrible for fantasy owners.
Yeah, and Cam might very well be the top rusher on the team, which is an issue.
Well, you got to give, like Gruden kind of called it out, like he's a power forward playing at quarterback, like he's just doing whatever he wants.
And it just dawned on me. I was trying to think of LeGarrette Blount.
Oh, Blount, yeah.
Anybody that had him a couple of years ago? Whew.
Like 500 yards and like 12 tutters, I think, something like that. Yeah, he had a pretty crazy year.
It was pretty
another guy, big name or big game from him, Cedric Wilson, your Cowboy. Like, he's not worth picking up, right? Just because he had 2 tutters. I was going to say CeeDee Lamb is still, Michael Gallup. Like, all those guys are going to continue to reign. Obviously, Cooper, they're all remaining in front of him, correct?
Yeah, that's the long list of guys. I don't think he's worth picking up. You want to focus on either the second or third, or at the very most, first, second, or third target at the very most on any team.
Yeah.
No matter how much offense they have.
Yeah. I'm going to say he may not have a touchdown the rest of the year.
It's possible. It would not surprise me one bit.
An anomaly for sure. We saw some bounce backs. Gallup was finally relevant last week. Love to see that. As a guy who owns Gallup in 2 leagues, I need him to start performing. And I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bounce back, but 2 weeks in a row now, and there's some injuries obviously with Akers and with Malcolm Brown, but to see Darrell Henderson get it going after kind of a dismal rookie year, if he's still available in leagues, I'm going to tell you that's a guy you need to go get. That Rams backfield is going to continue to be able to run the ball.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. For some folks that really are looking good from a bounce back perspective, and a lot of people considered him dead in week 1, but James Conner, he's looking like he is the workhorse that every down back that the team was saying that he was previous to the year getting started here. I was really excited for Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, finally having a breakout game.
Yeah, so if anybody has him in a dynasty league like I do, you pick him up because he has a lot of talent. You weren't really expect maybe you have them on your bench or wherever you need to stick rookies where where they don't count towards your total. Time to get that bad boy out.
Yeah.
I unfortunately I have Chenault and I have Jefferson on the same dynasty league. I decided to bring Chenault out and put him out on the shelf, and I probably should have just kept them in storage because Justin was the guy that I should have taken. But he looks great. Uh, there's going to be a role for him there. There's plenty of targets, so that's exciting. That was an exciting bounce back.
Absolutely, to see him finally get off the mark there was good to see. He in the Colts game last week, or 2 weeks ago now, he nearly made a couple of big catches. And I'm going to say if Cousins can find this guy, he's obviously a talent. So I'm with you there. All right, well let's and you kind of just touched on this, right? You have a little crush going on Jefferson. Let's talk about players we're crushing on, okay? And we're going to keep score on this too, by the way. So give me one quarterback, one running back, and one wide receiver you're crushing on, and tell me why.
So I kind of blew it here because I said one of my wide receivers already, but I don't mind doing it again. Justin Jefferson. I think if he's available, he won't be available for long. But as we're recording this today, he's available in math is hard. 62% of leagues. He's only taken the 38%.
Wow.
When people take a big chance on rookies and second-year wide receivers, it really pays off. You should draft at least a couple of rookies, at least a couple of second-year wide receivers, because you never know who's going to quite break out. From a quarterback perspective, I'm still saying that Big Ben is going to be very relevant moving forward. Excited about him. Excited about what kind of output he's going to put out this year. Even with Deontay Johnson getting hurt, we have folks like my other crush Claypool. He can get in there even though he didn't last game. Eric Ebron really stepped up.
Yeah.
He's a really sneaky tight end for the rest of the year. And for quarterback,
well, we're actually to the running back. You just gave me a quarterback. You took Big Ben.
Oh, that's right. So for running back, my crush is still on James Robinson.
Oh.
I can't get enough of how cheap he was to own and how much he's paying dividends. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he's going to be a top 10 running back for this year.
Wow. I mean, there's nobody else in Jacksonville getting carries. So like
targets.
Anything.
He called like 8 balls, you know?
Yeah. I like that. I like that out of you. If I'm going to take if I've got like a quarterback that I'm telling you I'm crushing on, we kind of touched on it earlier. It's Josh Allen. And like, don't get me wrong, like Russell Wilson's the obvious one, but like it's Josh Allen right now, getting it done with his legs, getting it done through the air, bringing Diggs into the game. Love me some Josh Allen time. He's the guy I'm taking to continue to have a big year while, and I think we touched on this in week 1, but like that Buffalo team's winning that division. And I love to see Josh Allen and that defense come around and do what they do. As far as a wide receiver is concerned, and man, this is tough for me because I think typically we've seen a lot of wideouts kind of be all over the place. Paris Campbell was my crush early in the season until we saw him get hurt. He was a guy that I thought was going to continue to have a big year. And the guy I crushed on, and I crushed on this last week, was Keelan Cole. And he did not work out for me. But I think I'm gonna go back to Michael Gallup. I think if Dak can continue to find him in games, this is a guy who people won't remember, but in that comeback against Atlanta, he caught a 50-yard boom down the sideline. Just went up and got it. Like, wasn't a great throw, and went up and got the ball. And that's a guy that can continue to do things for you. And I think if Dak continues to find him, that's a way that the Cowboys can actually start winning maybe some games. And as far as a running back goes, I'm gonna steal your guy, JT, Jonathan Taylor. I'm crushing hard on my guy. He's going to continue to grow into the game throughout the year. And he's a guy that I'm in love with. So love Jonathan Taylor. Would have had a monster game this last week, but the Colts got up by so much because of Sam Darnold's healthy penchant for throwing pick sixes they said, well, let's just go ahead and put you guys all out on the bench.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect time to bring up the little wager that we had.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah, so just kind of setting the stage. I was I think 12-team league. I was at the turn, the number 12 turn, and on the turn, I believe the 4th round turn, I went ahead and I took JT.
You did.
And you seem very salty about it still.
There was no doubt in my mind that he was making it back to me. Nobody else was picking him in that league.
Yeah.
Just you.
Yep. And so what happened was we were all on a chat together. It was actually pretty unique that most of the people that are in the league were on the same chat during the draft. I wasn't doing much talking because I was, a bundle of nerves. But then Rick started to say, "Oh, that's a little bit early. That's a little bit early." So long story short, we have a little bit of a wager this year. So I went to Rick and I said, "Hey, who did you take in your 4th round?" And ultimately, wasn't it some sort of quarterback? Or...
No, it was Andrews. But at any rate, ultimately the bet is somehow I gave you points. I didn't think Marlon Mack would get injured in the first game. So ultimately the bet is more fantasy points, Jonathan Taylor or DJ Moore, and you were looking very safe with Jonathan Taylor through 3 weeks. So I'm going to definitely owe you a case of the beer of your choosing.
Yeah.
That's definitely going to happen.
And the 25-point spread as well.
Yeah, we didn't have to bring it all up, but thank you.
And this all came from last year in one of my leagues where somebody was talking a lot of smack about me picking Derrick Henry in the 4th round turn. And they ended up picking the rookie on the Bears, and the name is escaping
Montgomery.
me.
Yeah.
David Montgomery, and he's just like, you just made a huge mistake, like Pretty Woman, big mistake, huge. And he had to buy me a case of beer too. So just a friendly wager, but it should be fun.
Yeah. This is the first and hopefully only time Pretty Woman will be referenced on the show. So let's move on from that. So let's talk about, we just talked about players we were crushing on, right? So what players are we scared for? And I'll start this one off. And we've touched on this before. Drew Brees, still scaring me. And I know he put up some numbers against the Packers, but like that offense still doesn't look good. He's got some injuries he's dealing with. I've got concern about Drew Brees and his right arm. Who's out there scaring you?
So as an owner, I am very scared for Joe Mixon. He has been underperforming. He is currently the 38th ranked running back in PPR. So not only does he not get any catches, because a lot of that goes to folks like Giovanni Bernard, or it could potentially go to Giovanni Bernard, he is not acclimating to this offense in the way that I was expecting him to, with the rookie quarterback. It's really concerning me. I'm really regretting picking him in a couple of leagues, because even in the league that we're in together, he was my 2nd round pick. So
yeah, he's definitely been struggling. He is in my dynasty league. There was a guy, Mixon is good again. And well, sure enough, one of the opposing teams has just changed their name to Mixon is bad again. And I thought that was funny. So I can echo your sentiments. Mixon is not, a lot of people invested highly on him, and he is certainly not paying off that investment right now, to the extent where you feel like it's entirely possible, because Joe Burrow looks good for a rookie quarterback. It might be, this would be the 3rd kind of uneven year. and you might be thinking Cincinnati, says, let's go get some insurance in the draft, and if they do that and somebody looks good, well, that fifth-year option is certainly not going to be picked up. So.
Yeah, that league should be interesting. My first and second round picks were Joe Mixon and Julio Jones.
Oof.
So I'm really, if I'm able to kind of stay in the fight in that league, it's all because of my mid to late round picks.
Yeah. Where fantasy's won, my friend. That is where fantasy is won. So if those are the players we're scared for, we kind of already told you who to pick up out there. Tell me a player this week who's broken your heart this week.
Who has broken my heart this week?
Oh, I think I know.
Well, among other players, I was heavily invested in Tariq Cohen.
Oh.
And he's out. The next best option there is Cordell Patterson, who is, typically a wide receiver. So that broke my heart in a lot of ways. But also, I was a big believer. I was front and center on Thursday night, waiting to watch Gardner Minshew, and the Chenault is like the receiver that I picked as my rookie receiver. Forget Justin Jefferson, forget, Brandon Ayuk. I took Chenault in almost every league as my flyer, and it looked pretty good for a while there. It might still be pretty good, but it doesn't look like he can catch a ball over 10 yards at this point. So it's concerning for me. Minshew should have really stepped up against Miami. He didn't. It's concerning me, man. The beard beat the mustache.
Beard always beats mustache. No, I'm with you there. It's good to see Minshew Mania finally dead. I'm glad to snuff that out. It is dead. Minshew Mania dead. In the books, dead. Snuff out that mustache and those jorts. And I'm okay with that. I've had enough of Minshew Mania. My guy that broke my heart. I was down 14 points, as I mentioned. Needed Hollywood like a combined 14 points, maybe even 12 points from Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews going into Monday night. And I can't blame Hollywood. He was underthrown all night, and Jackson couldn't get him the ball. So maybe Lamar Jackson's the one breaking my heart because he can't get the ball to people. But I had Mark Andrews dropping balls and actually dropped like a 30-yard touchdown pass. And, that's the winner right there. That's game over. I won. I'm going to bed early. I don't care about that game. Let's move on. Old boy dropped a touchdown pass on me, killing me, Mark. Luckily, I'm still 2-1 in our league. I'm ready to move forward. Let's put that behind us. Mark, I'm ready for you to do much, much, much better things this week. And I'm ready for Lamar to return to regularly scheduled programming.
And just as like a quick bonus, like I 100% agree with that. I think Hollywood Brown is very, very inconsistent, and that's coming from somebody that owns him in a dynasty league. Just never feel very safe starting him, and it's not usually his fault.
It's boomer bust because he's open a lot, but Lamar going deep is not necessarily always the answer that you want it to be.
I also spent a very high round draft pick on Deandre Swift. And that was before Adrian Peterson came to town. And Adrian Peterson looks like he's going to be their workhorse moving forward. So
that can't stay all season, I have to believe. No, that's neither here nor there, but I have to believe that they're eventually going to move over to Swift.
Yeah, I have in my notes they're 0-3, the Lions. Or at least I think they're 0-3.
No, that's the other team that broke my heart. We want to go with the team, and I'm going to touch on this in the pick'em. My Arizona Cardinals, who somehow picked up into a division. They look good through 2 weeks, playing good teams, and then Kyler Murray just has maybe the worst game of his NFL career, and somehow loses to the just helpless Detroit Lions.
Okay, so you're 1-2. So get your new toy out that you just got for Christmas and play with them.
Yeah, it's time to let him go. I've got him in our league, and I'm still just hanging on to him. The other guy that I've got in our league that I'm hanging on to that may stop this week is Henry Ruggs. It's about time to cut. He's been injured. it almost looks like the Raiders are just using him like just full on as a diversion, right? Mm-hmm. Just send him out running, and somebody's got to stay with him.
Yeah, I think he's hurt.
So we'll see, but I think it's probably time for me to cut bait on him and see what happens. So that's where we're at today. George, give me before we sign off, give me your biggest surprise from the week that was.
Biggest surprise and the biggest impact, I think, from the week that was is Chris Carson getting injured on what looked like
on a gator
hit.
roll. Yeah.
But a little advice to everybody out there: pick up Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, it's an interesting pickup, although it's very short term. It's very near term. If you're looking to stream a running back this week, Carlos Hyde is definitely the guy to go stream. There's no doubt about that.
You think Rashard Penny's going to come back with and do his thing?
Not necessarily, but Chris Carson, like they said, it's a high ankle sprain, 1 maybe 2 weeks. And when Carson comes back, Carlos Hyde's going to get some carries here and there, but it's Chris Carson's. That's Chris Carson's team. He's the workhorse there. So unless he's a long-term injury, Carlos Hyde's not a guy I'm putting a ton of investment in unless I need a streamer running back. So my big surprise from the week, I'll throw it out there, was actually Minshew Mania dying. I thought that was a soft matchup. I thought that was we actually argued about the validity of the Jags and how many wins they would have this year. And I thought, well, they're going to beat Miami at home, but like they're not that good. Well, they showed me they didn't just lose they got spanked by Miami. They got spanked by Miami. So I'm glad Minshew Mania is dead. We can put it to rest, never to bring it up again. So, all right. Well, that was the week that was in fantasy. We appreciate everybody joining. Stick with us for the next segment on Pick'em. And we appreciate your time. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.